CBS Radio News reporter Teri Schultz is on the phone with us now from Brussels. Teri, so what have we learned over the course of the news conference that was held just a short time ago?
Well, we learned that there were, in fact, 3 people arrested tonight, not just Salah Abdeslam, but also 2 accomplices. We know that the second one was a man that had been hunted by authorities along with Salah Abdeslam. Another man's identity has not yet been given. Now, President Hollande was not confirming this, nor Jean Michel, but we do know from local media that Salah Abdeslam was injured in the leg and taken to a nearby hospital where he's being treated. Apparently, one of the other men who was taken in tonight was also taken to hospital. Although the leader said that the police operations were ongoing, I am still downtown here in Molenbeek, and just within the last 10 to 15 minutes, it looks like police are wrapping up, packing up their vans, and starting to call it a night.
Elaine, stand by. Teri, stand by. We want to go to Elaine Cobbe. She's in Paris and joins us now over the phone. Elaine, a couple of things that came out of that news conference, a joint news conference between French President François Hollande and the Belgian Prime Minister Charles Michel. President Hollande hopes, and I'm sure his wish will be granted, that Abdeslam is extradited to France very, very quickly so that he can stand trial. He talked about the families and the suffering and the pain that they've gone through and the justice that he hopes to bring.
Yes, President Hollande said he wants Abdeslam extradited to France so he can be tried here. It's unlikely that would be opposed. He said he has no doubt that it will, in fact, go through. But he also said we're aware that while this arrest was important, it's not the end of this. There have been arrests and there will be others because, as he said, the network is widespread. He pointed out that Abdeslam clearly had people who were looking out for him because he's been on the run for the last 4 months and people didn't know where he was. Now, the news of his arrest has been greeted here with mixed reactions from the victims' families and lawyers. Some have said, at last I can rest easy, we've accounted for them all. Others have said, we want to know why it's taken so long and what else he's done. Why wasn't it faster? But I think that's something the French very much want to see come out in trial here in France.
Yeah, Elaine, that's an interesting question. You've been there since the Paris attacks, and I'm just curious, and this will be something that you'll, I'm sure, be reporting in the days and weeks ahead, but how the families feel about this, how they feel about knowing that this suspect who was at large, who was a key player in the attacks on November the 13th, has finally been captured. Presumably, people will at least feel some small sense of relief.
Absolutely. One lawyer said, they feel that this is something where they can now move past those questions, and they're also very aware of the fact that having someone who was involved in the attacks, who is still alive and can be brought to court, that he can be asked the questions that they've been asking themselves and asking the authorities who just don't know, like why and exactly who was involved and what else were they planning, and again, why? Because that's what the victims' families keep saying. Why us? Why there? Why those spots? And if he is in court in France, then he can be asked those questions. Now, one lawyer did say, I hope they'll put him on suicide watch because they were suicide bombers. So he may try to get out of ever appearing in court.
Let me ask you, Teri. We heard the French president talk about more arrests and bringing into custody those people who participated, financed, supported the terrorist network, ISIS. What do we know about the ongoing threat where you are there in Molenbeek?
That we know about having been taken into custody now with Abdeslam tonight is a man who went by the identity of Soufiane Kayal, and that may not be his name. Police don't believe that was his real name. And the man that was killed earlier this week in a shootout went by the name Salah Abdeslam. Now, both of those were listed by Belgian police as the subject of international manhunts. They were known to be accomplices working with Salah Abdeslam. And so they were very much also on police's radar, and police believe that one died Tuesday and one is now in custody with Salah Abdeslam. The threat level in Belgium is likely to remain high, I would guess. We're at level 3 out of 4. And we know that there are networks of people, as Elaine mentioned, who were working with Salah Abdeslam. Belgium, and in particular Molenbeek, is known to have been the home of networks of radicalized Belgians. I mean, these guys go to Syria, go to Iraq, come back, and launch attacks in Europe, as we've seen time and again now in the last couple of years. And so I don't think that authorities are going to be able to let down their guard just now. Salah Abdeslam is certainly not the only person who is on their radar. There are 11 people who've been arrested in Belgium in connection with the Paris attack, and they've certainly got some questions to answer on their own. It's not over with the arrest of Salah Abdeslam, that's for sure.
All right, Elaine Cobbe for us in Paris and Teri Schultz on the ground in Molenbeek. We thank you both for your reporting.